topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast, broadcasting live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. This week and every week, we will reach for a higher purpose in money and life, as well as a focus on health and wellness. Now, let's join your host, Benita Bell-Andersen, as together we start with Asking Good Questions.
Hey, welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast. This is your host, Benita Bell-Andersen, and I'm coming at you incognito today because today we are going to talk about something that touches almost everyone, and that is staying safe from scams, from identity theft, from online trickery. And so especially for seniors and the people who love them. So I want you to think of, I don't want you to be scared of me, so I'll take the sunglasses off. But I want you to think of me as like being in a jail cell. And I want you to think about how you're going to be too smart for those scammers and those people that are trying to trick you. So I want to start with a short story. Someone I know got a phone call that sounded exactly like their bank, right? The caller knew their name. They mentioned their bank and said, "Your account has been compromised. Please stay on the line." And they sounded urgent, very official. And within minutes, this person was giving out information they normally never would have shared. So by the time they realized something fell off, it was too late. So here's the thing. These scams are not happening because people are dumb or careless or something like that. They're happening because scammers are getting really, really good at pretending to be trustworthy. So today's episode has one clear goal. I want you to go into the future being more confident and more prepared. And so I have prepared a checklist for you, and we're going to walk through what I call the Senior Cyber Safety Checklist. And you can use it for yourself, so maybe your spouse or your partner, parents or grandparents, or with any senior you care about, okay? So you don't need to be tech savvy to be following along. And if you can make a phone call, if you can read an email, if you can write a few notes, then you can absolutely do this. And good news, you don't have to write down a single thing because I put this into a one-page senior cyber safety checklist for you. And you can keep that by your computer or your phone. You'll be able to, I'm going to give you information on where to find that. Okay. So let's talk. I've got some slides for you. So let's see, let's pull up the slides now. So this is one email address. This is actually, my website is BenitaBellandersen.com. And if you go to podcast guest downloads, then you can see this. And that is the actual address where you go. That's W4CY is the radio network that this is on. So you can go and find that. I will also mention it again at the end of these slides. But let's talk about why are seniors targeted. First, seniors are typically trusting and they're polite. You were raised to answer the phone, right? To listen when somebody sounds official, to be respectful. And scammers know this and they like to take advantage. So second, what do seniors have? They have savings. They have pensions. They have Social Security. They have retirement accounts. And so from a criminal's perspective, that means there's money to go after, right? So third, today's technology is changing so fast, isn't it? So many seniors didn't grow up with smartphones and online banking, so you've had to learn it as an adult, right? And that can sometimes feel confusing or intimidating. So if you've ever fallen for a scam or almost fallen for one, please hear this. It is not because you are stupid. These scammers are professionals. They practice their scripts. They use fear. They use urgency. They use emotion on purpose. And the good news is that you can build some very simple habits that make you much harder to scam. So let's go through our senior cyber safety checklist again. You can download it for yourself here at this web address. I'll give you it again at the end of these slides, or you can just listen now and then go later and download it. All right. So let's start with the biggest trouble spot, right? The biggest trouble spot is the phone. So there's a lot of scams that start with a phone call or an email. And if we can get better at spotting the red flags there, we can prevent a lot of damage. Here's the key habits. Hang up on calls that are urgent, threatening, or demand payment right now. If someone calls and says you're going to be arrested or your account will be closed in the next 10 minutes, that's a huge red flag. Nobody's doing that to you. Real organizations do not threaten like that over the phone. So never, ever, ever give up your Social Security number, bank information, or passwords over the phone or email to someone who reached out to you. If you called the number on the back of your card, that's different. But if they called you, don't give out that information. Ignore the links in unexpected texts or emails from banks, the IRS, Social Security, or delivery companies. They can copy and paste logos. It can look just like the IRS or Social Security, or it can look like anything because they can create it to look like that. Don't click on any links that you are not aware of having it come into you. Go directly to the official website or use the app you already have. If it's a bank, you call your bank and you say, hey, is my account in danger? And of course they're going to say, no, your account's fine. So treat misspellings. This is a big one too. Treat misspellings or odd wording or unknown senders as suspicious, right? If the email sounds a little off, like strange grammar, weird phrases, or it just doesn't feel right, then delete it or call a trusted person to look at it with you, right? And if in doubt, call the company back using a phone number that you trust, right? That means the number on your bank card or on your statement or on the official website. Don't use the number the caller sends you because that's going to go to their call center where they're impersonating people. If you did just this section, if you only changed how you handled phone calls and emails, you would already be much, much safer. Okay, number 2 is passwords and logins. I know nobody loves passwords, but a few small improvements here make a huge difference. All right. So the checklist says use longer passwords or passphrases instead of something like fluffy 1, 2, 3. Think in terms of 3 or 4 random words. For example, purple, orange, garden, sun. Longer is better. So there's ways, you can dream up things, or else there's a website called Diceware that you can go, and that place will dream up words for you. But I've been negligent of this, and it's something that I have changed. Avoid using the same password for email, banking, and shopping websites. I now have an email that I created just for financial websites, just for the places where I log in, and it's different from my other website, other emails that I use for, a lot of other things. So turn on this everywhere you go. Say yes to turning on two-step verification. It's also called two-factor authentication, and this is usually for your email, for your bank accounts, and that's when you log in and they send you a code by text or another or through an app. Then it's an extra step, but it's one of the best protections you can have. You usually have to put some numbers in to authenticate that it's you. And also write passwords in a private, safe place, or use a trusted password manager. There's several out there. There's one called 1Password. There's a bunch of them now. And so actually in about a month, I'm going to be having a cybersecurity expert on. We will talk more in depth about the different password manager companies and websites that are out there. But please consider doing that. Ideally set up by someone you trust, okay? For some seniors, a small paper notebook kept in a safe place is easier than trying to memorize everything. So that's okay. Just don't leave it out in public view. And also that little notebook might be important, I know we don't want to think about it, but someday when you pass away, that notebook might be gold for your executor of your account getting into websites to take care of business. Okay, that's just saying. So if passwords feel overwhelming, start with just one thing. Pick your most important account. Maybe it's your email or maybe it's your main bank, and upgrade that password first. Okay. Another thing that I do is I have a reminder to myself on the first day of every month to change passwords. I don't change everything, but I change those things that I use a lot. And so that's also an idea, is just to regularly change your passwords. Okay. Next on the list, devices. That can be all kinds of things, can it? Your laptop, your phones, your tablets, it could be your wristwatch, your watch. So think of this as the locks on the doors and the windows of your digital house. Okay. And so first up on the list is turn on automatic updates for your computer and your phone and your tablet. Updates are a lot of times security fixes. So letting them run automatically keeps you safer without you having to think about it, all right? And use a strong Wi-Fi password at home, not the default from the sticker on the back of the router. If your Wi-Fi password is something like admin or password, it's time to change it, okay? And a longer phrase is better. So avoid checking bank or credit card accounts on public Wi-Fi. I'm talking, don't do this. Don't go to Starbucks and get your favorite drink and sit down and get into your bank account, right? You're not going to do that. This also includes like cafes, airports. Don't do it at the airport, or malls. There have been some times when I have needed to work on something while I was waiting for a plane at an airport. In those cases, I never use the free Wi-Fi at the airport. What I use is my mobile hotspot on my phone. Most people have a mobile hotspot. And so think about that. If you need to check something sensitive, use your cellular data or wait until you're back and you're on your home network, all right? And then install reputable antivirus or security software. I actually have Norton, which is also what is linked up with LifeLock. And that actually just renewed for me. And I have had Norton for a while, and they're great. They're one of those good, reputable antivirus or security software. And so you don't need to buy every product out there. Just choose one recommended by someone you trust and keep it updated. Okay. So this section is often a great one to do with a son or a daughter or a grandchild or a trusted friend who's comfortable with technology. You know, you might just ask them, can we spend 20 minutes making sure my devices are updated and my Wi-Fi password is strong? You know, maybe you make them some cookies or something like that. Or maybe, you know, maybe if it's big enough deal, maybe you make them dinner, have them come in for dinner and do those things. All right. Okay. So the next thing is banking, back to banking and money monitoring. So even if you're really careful, it's smart to have some early warning systems in place, right? Okay, the checklist says set up bank alerts for withdrawals, transfers, or purchases over a certain dollar amount. For example, you might get a text if anything over $200 happens. That way you see suspicious activity quickly. So one of the, and years ago, I did not have this set up yet. I actually had a business credit card that I kept in my drawer at my office in downtown Spokane, Washington. And somehow, I have no idea how they got into it, but there were scammers that got into that, bought a whole bunch of $100 Walmart gift cards. And to this day, I have no idea how they did it. But fortunately, I double check, you know, every month I would go through my bookkeeping and this pops up, and I hadn't even used that card in I don't know how long. So if I would have had a bank alert, I would have found out about that much sooner. So review your monthly statements for unfamiliar charges. I know it's not a whole lot of fun, but it's important. Little charges can be tests. Scammers sometimes start with like $8.99 or $14.99 to see if anyone notices. Well, you might, you know, it'd be good to say, wait a minute, what did I buy? Did I buy anything? No. So consider adding a trusted family member or a friend to help monitor accounts. Sometimes it's appropriate because, unfortunately, as people get older, sometimes this is something that slips. It doesn't mean giving up control, okay? That's not what it means. It can simply mean they get a copy of statements or alerts to help you keep an eye on things. Again, this is going to be somebody that you trust to help you with your finances. So if you notice something, contact your bank immediately if you see anything unusual or if you think you clicked something risky. But you're not going to do that now, are you? You are going to be smart and you are not clicking on links and emails. So the sooner you call, if you do see something, the more options the bank has to help you, right? So if you're listening and thinking, I don't know how to set up alerts, that's okay. This is another great team effort project. Ask again, you know, basically, if you don't have a trusted person, then now is the time to think about that and to think about finding somebody that can help and walk into your bank branch and ask them to help you set it up. Okay, we're going to move on here to another area, social media. And you're going, oh, I don't do social media. Well, this one is emotional and because it plays on your love for your family. Here's what's on the checklist. Be cautious about sharing your full birth date, address or travel plans on social media. Yeah, I know. It's really tempting to go, oh, we're in Greece and we're doing this and that. Well, maybe you share those pictures after you get home from your trip. But be careful. Scammers use this information to guess passwords or to sound more convincing when they call. If you get a call or a message saying a loved one is in trouble, if you get this is Abby, your granddaughter, and I'm on the side of the road and I don't know who else to call, Grandma, but they need money, pause. The scammer is counting on you acting quickly and not even thinking about this. And so why am I talking about this? Because it has happened. And so there are stories out there about these kinds of things happening. So here's an idea. Use a family code word or a question only your real granddaughter would know. For example, what's the nickname Grandma used for you when you were little? Or a special word only your family uses. Okay? So think about that. And, if your granddaughter, if you think this is a granddaughter calling, maybe you call your daughter, or maybe you call somebody else that knows that granddaughter and you double check. Where are they? Well, no, they're in school right now. Oh, okay. Always verify using a known trusted number before sending any money. You're just not going to send money to anybody without having somebody else taking a look at this. That means hanging up, calling your grandchild on their usual number, or calling their parents or another relative. Okay. You can even have a family meeting or a group text and say, hey, everyone, if anybody ever calls saying they're in trouble and needs money, we're going to use this code word, and I will always hang up and call back on the number I already have. Okay. So these are just some strategies for that distress call from a family member. Okay. Which leads us into identity protection and credit. This is all about protecting your personal information and keeping an eye on how it's being used. All right. So here's the checklist. Keep your Social Security card and your important documents in a secure place, not in your wallet. Okay. Just don't do it. Keep those things in a secure place. You don't need it typically in your day-to-day, just going around doing whatever you're doing every day. If your wallet is stolen, you don't want your Social Security card in there. Okay. Shred old bank statements or bills or documents with personal information. Okay. A simple shredder can prevent dumpster diving identity theft. That's a lot of times that's how people have gotten it. So check your credit report at least once a year. So, because we're on this subject, maybe now, if you haven't done it in a long time, now is a good time to go check your credit reports and see if you recognize all the accounts that are there. If you see a credit card you never opened or a loan you never took, that's a big red flag. So consider placing a credit freeze or fraud alert with the major credit bureaus if you're concerned about identity theft. Okay. So a credit freeze means that it's much harder for someone to open new accounts in your name. You can lift it temporarily if you need to apply for something. Okay. So this is another area where a trusted family member or an advisor can sit down with you and walk you through those steps. All right. On to the next thing. But wait, there's more. Well, this is more. Basically, the idea is simple. You don't have to face this stuff by yourself. So here's what the checklist is for this area. Choose 1 to 2 trusted people you can call before clicking on links or attachments that seem odd. This might be an adult child, it might be a grandchild, it might be a neighbor or somebody at church, okay? But think about who could you trust to help you with your finances. Post their names and phone numbers near your computer and telephone. Make it easy. When something suspicious shows up, you can literally look at the wall and say, okay, I'm going to call Sarah before I touch this. And agree on a simple rule. If it feels urgent, if it's like, you need to do this right now, if it's emotional or if it's about money, you know what? I don't act until I talk to my tech helper. You might just say, you know what, sweetie, I'm going to have to call you back. And usually, well, they're going to hang up. And keep a list of trusted phone numbers for your bank, for your credit card company, key service providers. That way you never have to rely on a number that pops up in a suspicious email or a text. So again, you can have this, maybe you have a place in your desk that you keep those things that can be safe for you. So this one step, it's kind of like thinking about having like a little cyber safety team. It takes so much pressure off. You do not have to figure it all out in the moment alone. You check. You're going to, in some way, shape, or form, you're going to verify. And I'm going to say that again. Verify, verify, verify. Right? You're going to do something to verify what you're hearing. So I don't want you to just listen to this and then just go about your day. I want you to do something. This is where we're going to turn ideas into action. It looks like this. Today, what are you going to do? Are you going to make a list of your bank and the numbers that you would call if you needed to call somebody? Or this week, I will look at passwords. I will dream up some new passwords for myself. And then who's going to be your trusted, who's going to be your team? Who's your teammate? Are you going to share this checklist with a daughter, a son, somebody that you trust? So what is one thing you can do today? It might be as simple as hanging up on suspicious calls instead of staying on the line. Maybe it's choosing your tech helper and writing their number on by the phone. What's one thing you can do this week? Maybe you set up bank alerts, right? Maybe you turn on two-step verification for your email. Maybe you schedule a time with a family member to go through your devices. And who are you going to share this checklist with? Spouse, friend at church, your parents, or a neighbor who lives alone? Just think it's 3 things that you can do that'll help you feel less worried and reactive and feeling more prepared and proactive. You can always email, if you have a question, you can always email at benita@10cap.com. And you can also access that checklist at my website, benitabellandersen.com, and check on podcast guest downloads. All right. So you do not need to tackle all of this at once. Start with 1 or 2 items that feel really important to you. Remember, you are not helpless. You can be your own human firewall. And if you invite a few trusted people to be part of your cybersecurity team, you're even stronger. So go and get the checklist at my website, and you can download it there and print it out, stick it on your fridge, and work through it with your loved ones. And then don't just look at it once. Think about that, maybe every 6 months you review it and make sure that what's changed, what needs to be updated. Okay. And if this episode helped you feel even a little more confident about scams and online safety, I have a couple of quick favors to ask. Would you follow or subscribe to the Ask Good Questions podcast so you don't miss future episodes? I want for you to especially be watching for my episode with the cybersecurity expert who's going to go into just, like a lot of things around what's going on in the world. And so he's got a lot of stories and things. But this I wanted you to have right now so that you could be working on these things for you. So secondly, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, these things are good for like having a short review that helps others, seniors and families find this information when they really need it. And finally, think of one person over 60 who worries about scams or should worry about scams. Would you share this episode and the checklist with them? That would really be great. You might save them from the next scammer's phone call. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'm Benita Bell-Andersen, and this has been the Ask Good Questions podcast. Stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, you are smarter than the scammers.
Today's episode is over, but we did ask good questions again, didn't we? Don't miss out as we broadcast live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. Join Benita Bell-Andersen next week for more conversations with experts on finances, retirement, behavioral finance issues, health and wellness, and more. Until then, remember to ask good questions.